I sacrificed my childhood, raising my little brothers and sisters, but my parents called me selfish when I started my own life. Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. I want to share something deeply personal with you today, a story that I've been carrying for years and only recently found the courage to talk about. It's about family, sacrifice, and what happens when the people who are supposed to protect your childhood are the ones who steal it from you. My name is Emma. I'm 28 now, and this is the story of how I became a parent before I even became a teenager. I was born into what most people would call a large family. My parents, Carol and Jim, had me when they were 19 and 21, respectively. Looking back, they were basically kids themselves, but at the time, I thought they were just my parents. You don't question these things when you're little. When I was 4, my mom had my brother Tyler. When I was 6, my sister Mia arrived. By the time I was 8, there was baby Lucas. And the pattern continued. Emma at 10, then Jake at 12. By the time I turned 14, I had 6 younger siblings ranging from newborn to 10 years old. Now I know what you're thinking. Lots of families have many kids and make it work. But here's where my story gets different. Somewhere around the time I turned 12, I stopped being the oldest child and became something else entirely. I became the third parent. It started small, like it always does. Emma, can you watch Tyler while I run to the store? Emma, help Mia with her homework. Emma, change Lucas's diaper. At first, I didn't mind. I actually liked helping out. I felt important, responsible, grown up. But gradually, what started as occasional help became my entire existence. By 7th grade, my daily routine looked like this. Wake up at 5:30 a.m. to get the younger kids ready for school, make breakfast for everyone while my parents slept in, walk Tyler and Mia to their elementary school, then rush to make it to my own classes on time. After school, pick up the younger ones, help with homework, start dinner, supervise bath time, read bedtime stories, and finally collapse into bed around 10 p.m. to do it all over again. My parents worked, but their work schedules were flexible. Mom had various part-time jobs that came and went: retail, cleaning houses, babysitting other people's kids, ironically enough. Dad worked construction when he could find it, but there were long periods of unemployment where he'd spend his days on the couch watching TV or hanging out with friends. The thing is, even when they were home, I was still expected to handle everything kid-related. It was like they had mentally checked out of parenting the moment I proved I was capable of doing it for them. I remember one particularly awful day in 8th grade. I had a science project due, something I'd been trying to work on for weeks, but kept getting interrupted by sibling duties. That morning, baby Jake had been up all night with an ear infection, crying inconsolably. I'd been the one walking him around the house, trying to soothe him while my parents slept through it all. I was exhausted, running on maybe 2 hours of sleep, and I still hadn't finished my project. I went to my mom and asked if she could please handle the morning routine just this once so I could work on my assignment. Emma, don't be dramatic, she said, not even looking up from her coffee. You're good with the kids. I'm not a morning person. You know that. I started crying from exhaustion, frustration, everything. Mom, I'm failing science class. I need to focus on school too. That's when she got angry. Don't you dare act ungrateful, young lady. This family is a team, and everyone has to pull their weight. When I was your age, I was already working to help support my family. But here's the thing, I wasn't being paid. I wasn't even being thanked most of the time. I was just expected to sacrifice everything for the good of the family. High school was when things got really bad. I had to turn down every social invitation, couldn't join clubs or sports, couldn't even think about dating. While my classmates were going to football games and sleepovers, I was home giving baths and helping with multiplication tables. My grades suffered because I rarely had time for homework. Teachers would ask why I looked tired, why I couldn't participate in group projects that required meeting after school, why I seemed so much older than my peers. I made excuses because I was too embarrassed to tell the truth. The breaking point came during my junior year. I was 17, and I'd been accepted to a summer program for students interested in nursing. It was an incredible opportunity, something that could help me get into college and maybe, finally, build a life of my own. When I told my parents about it, their reaction was immediate and harsh. Absolutely not, my dad said. We need you here. Your mother can't handle all the kids by herself. But it's only 6 weeks, I pleaded. It could help me get into college, get a good job, be able to help the family even more in the future. My mom laughed bitterly. College? Emma, be realistic. We can't afford college, and honestly, you're needed here. This is your family. These kids depend on you. They're not my kids, I finally exploded. They're your kids. I didn't choose to have 6 children. The silence that followed was deafening. Then my dad stood up, his face red with anger. How dare you speak to us that way, after everything we've provided for you? You live under our roof, you eat our food, and you have the nerve to act like helping your own family is some kind of burden? I've been helping for 5 years, I shouted back. I haven't had a childhood. I haven't had friends. I can't even remember the last time I did something just for me. That's life, Emma, my mom said coldly. That's what family means. Sacrifice. Something you clearly don't understand. I didn't go to the summer program. I couldn't bear the thought of my younger siblings suffering because I wasn't there. You see, that's the cruelest part of parentification. They make you love those kids so much that you can't abandon them, even when you know you should save yourself. Tyler, Mia, Lucas, Emma, Jake, and little Sophia, who arrived when I was 16. I loved them fiercely. I was the one who kissed their scraped knees, helped them with nightmares, celebrated their small victories. I was more of a parent to them than our actual parents ever were. But love can become a prison when it's weaponized against you. Senior year, I made a plan. I'd been secretly saving money from a weekend job at a local diner. Money I told my parents was going toward family expenses, but was actually my escape fund. I applied to colleges with good financial aid, studied for the SATs during my brief moments alone, and dreamed of a future where I could be just Emma, not Emma the perpetual babysitter. When my acceptance letter came, I hid it. When scholarship offers arrived, I intercepted them from the mailbox. I was terrified my parents would find out and sabotage my plans. 3 weeks before graduation, I finally told them. I'm going to college in the fall, I announced during dinner. The table went silent. My dad set down his fork slowly. We've talked about this, Emma. It's not practical. I got a full scholarship. It won't cost you anything. It's not about money, my mom said, though we all knew it partially was. It's about responsibility. You can't just abandon your family. I'm not abandoning anyone. I'm trying to build a future. Your future is here, she insisted. These kids need you. We need you. But I was 18 now, legally an adult, and for the first time in 6 years, I chose myself. The night before I left for college was horrific. My parents alternated between guilt trips and silent treatment. You're breaking up this family, my mom said. You're being selfish and ungrateful after everything we've done for you. The younger kids didn't understand why I was leaving. Tyler, who was 14 by then, actually got it. He'd started to see the unfairness of the situation. But the little ones just knew that Emma, their constant caretaker, was abandoning them. I cried myself to sleep that last night, questioning everything, wondering if I really was the selfish monster my parents painted me to be. College was like entering a different world. Suddenly, I had time to study, to make friends, to discover who I was beyond my role as a caregiver. It was terrifying and exhilarating at the same time, but the guilt calls started immediately. Sophia's been crying for you, my mom would say. She doesn't understand why you left. Jake got in trouble at school again. He's acting out because you abandoned him. Your father's working double shifts now because we had to hire a babysitter. I hope you're happy. Every call was designed to make me feel like a terrible person for wanting my own life. The first semester was hard academically, not because the work was difficult, but because I'd never learned proper study habits. I'd never had the luxury of focusing solely on schoolwork. But I was determined, and slowly, I started to thrive. I made friends, real friends who knew nothing about my past, who saw me as just Emma, not Emma the sister mom. I joined study groups, went to campus events, even started dating someone. For the first time in years, I felt like a normal young adult. But every achievement was tainted by guilt calls from home. During my sophomore year, I started seeing a counselor at the campus health center. I'd been having anxiety attacks and trouble sleeping, and I thought it was just academic stress. Tell me about your family, Dr. Martinez said during our first session. As I described my childhood, her expression grew more serious. Emma, what you're describing is called parentification. It's a form of emotional abuse where children are forced to take on adult responsibilities inappropriate for their age. But they needed help, I protested. Lots of kids help with younger siblings. There's a difference between helping and being responsible for raising children that aren't yours. You missed critical developmental stages. You weren't allowed to be a child. It took months of therapy to understand that my parents' treatment of me wasn't normal or acceptable, that I wasn't selfish for wanting my own life, that love shouldn't come with the requirement to sacrifice everything. Junior year brought more guilt campaigns from home. My mom started having health problems that coincidentally flared up before my visits home. My dad would call drunk, telling me I was destroying the family, but I also started hearing from my siblings directly. Tyler had gotten a job and was helping support the family financially. Mia, now 15, had become the new primary caretaker, and she was struggling just like I had. I can't do this anymore, Emma, she cried during one late-night call. I have no friends, no life, nothing. How did you stand it for so long? My heart broke for her, but I also knew I couldn't go back. Going back would just enable my parents to continue the cycle with another child. Instead, I started secretly helping Mia apply for scholarships and programs. I shared resources about parentification and helped her understand that what our parents were doing wasn't normal. Senior year of college, I met David. He was kind, understanding, and when I finally told him about my family situation, he didn't run. He listened, supported me, and helped me see that I deserved love that didn't come with impossible conditions. When I graduated with my nursing degree, my parents didn't come to the ceremony. They said they couldn't afford it, couldn't find childcare, couldn't take time off work. But I knew the real reason. They were still punishing me for choosing myself. David and I got married a year later. It was a small ceremony with his family and a few close friends. Only Tyler came from my side. He was 18 by then and could make his own decisions. My parents called our marriage selfish because I hadn't waited until all my siblings were grown, as if I was supposed to put my entire life on hold for another decade. When David and I bought our first house, when I got promoted at the hospital, when we decided to start trying for children, every milestone was met with criticism from my parents. I was showing off, acting like I was better than them, forgetting where I came from. The final breaking point came 2 years ago when I was diagnosed with kidney disease. The doctor said I'd need a transplant eventually, and the recovery would be long and difficult. I called my parents to tell them about my diagnosis, hoping that maybe, finally, they'd show some concern for my well-being. Well, that's what happens when you abandon your family, my mother said coldly. Karma catches up with everyone eventually. I was stunned into silence. Maybe this will teach you to appreciate what you had, she continued. We could have used your help all these years, but you were too selfish to care. My father got on the phone. Don't expect us to drop everything to take care of you now. We have our own problems. I hung up and cried for hours. David held me while I grieved, not just for my health, but for the parents I'd always hoped I had, but never actually did. The kidney transplant happened 6 months ago. David was my donor. This amazing man who'd known me for only 5 years was willing to give me a piece of himself, while the people who'd raised me acted like my illness was some kind of divine punishment. My siblings rallied around me in ways my parents never did. Tyler organized a fundraiser for my medical expenses. Mia visited every day I was in the hospital. Even the younger ones, now teenagers themselves, sent cards and called to check on me. It was then that I realized something important. I hadn't abandoned my family. I'd abandoned the toxic system that my parents had created. The love between my siblings and me remained strong because it was real, not conditional on my willingness to sacrifice myself. Today, I'm healthy and happy. David and I just bought a bigger house because we're expecting our first child. My siblings are all thriving in their own ways. Tyler's in college now. Mia got that scholarship I helped her apply for, and the younger ones are breaking free from the patterns our parents tried to establish. My parents still reach out occasionally, usually when they need something. They've never apologized for the way they treated me, never acknowledged that what they did was wrong. In their minds, I'm still the ungrateful daughter who abandoned her family in their time of need. But I've learned that you can't set yourself on fire to keep other people warm. You can't sacrifice your entire life to enable other people's dysfunction. And you can't wait for toxic people to change, even if those people are your parents. To anyone out there who's going through something similar, whether it's parentification, emotional abuse, or just family members who try to guilt you for having boundaries, please know this: you are not responsible for other people's choices. You are not required to sacrifice your well-being for anyone else's comfort. And wanting your own life doesn't make you selfish. It makes you human. I sacrificed my childhood raising my little brothers and sisters, and when I finally tried to start my own life, my parents called me selfish. But you know what? I'm okay with that now, because the alternative was sacrificing my entire life, and I refuse to do that anymore. Thanks for listening to my story. I know it was heavy, but I hope it helps someone out there who might be questioning whether they deserve their own life. You do. We all do. Take care of yourselves, and remember, choosing yourself isn't selfish, it's survival. See you in the next video.